Todd's Town Hall.
Maybe that's the new name for the show. We'll change names every week.
Todd's Town Hall. Yo, everybody, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
We got 30 seconds.
30 segundos. Aquí.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show.
And Civic Media. Estamos aquimos. Listamos. Vámonos.
Y'all ready?
Yes.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our engineer and producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 12 noon on this Thursday, February 27th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Welcome in, everybody. Glad to have you along here. High atop, we're here in Madison, and still trying to break that habit, Zommers. So we're here in Madison, and it's a cloudy day. It's a cloudy day, and our chief meteorologist, or one of our meteorologists, Brittany Merlot, tells us that the winds are actually going to be whipping around. That's the toughest part of the forecast. Temperatures not bad at all, in the 40s, maybe near 50 in some places in Wisconsin, but the winds, this is serious now, 30, 40 miles per hour, small limbs, but also big limbs on larger trees could bring down some power lines. So be careful where you park. Don't park with whipping winds. Don't park underneath a big limb where it could fall down. So be aware of that. Other than some tough wind conditions, people in trucks as well. High-profile trucks also have trouble on the highways, byways, and freeways. So be aware of that. But otherwise, maybe some rain, some localized flooding. I know I heard much of the ground frozen to like 30 inches more in some places, which is going to cause, once it rains a little bit, there's nowhere for that water to soak in. So be aware of that as we go through the next few days. Some much needed precipitation, but it might take a little while to sink in. Zommer's big show today. Looking forward to this one. We teased this. And we did it because I thought it was slightly funny, but it's a serious issue for a lot of folks because a lot of people are crafters, they are bakers, they sew, and one of the main stores, Joann Fabrics, going out of business. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Take your phone calls. Does this affect you? Are you a big sewer, a big crafter, and where will you go now? So we'll take a look at that as well. Also, a brand new little segment we're doing today called "Is it fake or is it real?" Going to give you some quotes, and you can tell me, do you think it's real or do you think it's fake? A lot of people asking, what can we do, Todd? We're a little irritated here, more than a little irritated and worried about the state of affairs in America. Well, there is a day of action planned starting at midnight tonight. We will tell you about it and how you can participate. And then hour number 2, we're also going to do a little what's worse for you. Today is the food edition, dealing with ketchup. What do you put ketchup on? We'll talk about that in hour 2. But let's get right into it here. And I listened this morning to, by the way, I was up early. I filled in for Pat Kreitlow on Up North News Radio with Greg Bach. That was a lot of fun. It's National Toast Day. So Kreitlow always goes through the national days. It's National Toast Day. And nobody enjoys a nice piece of toast better than me. And so I thought, this will be fun. I'll bring in my toaster. And I don't normally buy brioche bread, but I thought, it crusts up really nice. So I bought a little brioche. I had some wheat bread. I brought that in, and we made toast on the show this morning. The brioche came out great, but I wanted a little bit darker on the wheat.
Oh, boy.
And I did that during Brittany Merlot's forecast. And I look over, and there's smoke rolling out of the toaster. I forgot about it. And so thank goodness we did not set off the fire alarms. I can tell you that. But the studio smell a little smoky. So,
You see, sometimes smelling burnt toast is the sign of a stroke, or it's just a sign that Todd is nearby.
but it is National Toast Day. So enjoy your national toast for all those who celebrate. But no, I was up, I was here, I was listening to Jane and Greg this morning on Matt Nair on Air, and they covered this Supreme Court race. In fact, they had on Judge Crawford, one of the two candidates in the Supreme Court race coming up April 1st, by the way, be a voter in that race. And so we're going to cover a little bit of the same thing. But the thing about Jane and I, we are big Broadway musical fans. And one of our favorite musicals, each of us, is The Book of Mormon, which Jane and I have sung together as we've traveled the highways and byways of Wisconsin together. So here now, in honor of Jane, Matt Nair, and our mutual love of Broadway, and to introduce our next segment, having to do with the state Supreme Court race, time once again for Broadway Brad.
Have you heard of the all-American prophet? The blonde-haired, blue-eyed voice of God. He didn't come from the Middle East like those other holy men. No, God's favorite prophet was all-American. I'm going to take you back to biblical times, 1823.
That's the Book of Mormon there, the Book of Mormon, and taking us back to 1823. So that song has to do with these two kids. It's a musical, it's a comedy, but there's a meaning to it. And these two young Mormons go to Africa to evangelize, and they're trying to convert Africans. And so they spice it up because this kid, Elder Price, he's a big kind of rock Donny Osmond fan. And so he tries to make the story of the Book of Mormon interesting. Well, we're not going to take you quite back to Book of Mormon days, but we are taking you back, according to the Book of Mormon in biblical times, of 1849. And you say, Todd, why are we going back to 1849? And I looked at we're making a little bit of fun here, just to have a little bit of fun with this. But there's a very, very serious part to it. Because this is so preposterous, most people would say, well, Todd, nobody wants to go back to 1849. We didn't have the same medical conditions. Women didn't have the right to vote. Civil rights was not enacted. Tougher to get around in a horse and carriage than it is a car. Unless you're really like, I don't know, not even Grizzly, Little House on the Prairie. If you're a big fan of Little House on the Prairie, I guess, fine. But most people don't want to go back to 1849.
But you'd be surprised.
You're exactly right, Summers. And that brings us to Wisconsin's race for state Supreme Court between Judge Susan Crawford and none other than Broadway Brad Schimmel. Now, I know this guy a little bit, having been a former Republican that left the party in 2011, and this is the guy who defended Scott Walker's big voter suppression thing in a federal court, of which I was a key witness against Walker and Schimmel. And by the way, our side won all except on voter ID, which the Supreme Court said, they couldn't get rid of. So Schimmel is 0 for 1 when going up against me in court. Not me personally, but what I was testifying on. So I know this guy Schimmel a little bit. And here's the thing about Brad Schimmel. I don't know if he enjoys a good Broadway play. He may. But apparently he likes to go back in history. So this is real now. Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel story from February 12th, 2025, so just a couple of weeks ago. Headline, Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel bring opposing views on abortion to the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. When it comes to their views on abortion, Wisconsin Supreme Court candidates Brad Schimmel and Susan Crawford are polar opposites. Schimmel, a conservative Waukesha County Circuit judge, opposes abortion, but recently said he would respect the voters' quote-unquote will on the issue. Crawford, a liberal Dane County Circuit Court judge, called the 2022 U.S. Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade that was struck down the constitutional right to abortion, quote-unquote, wrong, and says that she's, quote, proud of her record, quote, fighting for our fundamental rights and freedoms, unquote. When they face off on the April 1st election, the winner will be elected to a 10-year term on the state's highest court and will likely help decide the future of abortion access in Wisconsin. in this Milwaukee Journal Sentinel story by Mary Spicuzza, she goes on to write, both candidates have pledged to be impartial despite their partisan ties. Liberals currently hold the 4-3 advantage in the Supreme Court, but conservatives could regain control if Schimmel wins the race against Crawford. And then it goes into Schimmel's background or what Schimmel believes. And this, to me, is astounding. That Schimmel backs leaving Wisconsin's 1849 abortion law on the books. According to the Journal Sentinel story, years before Roe was overturned, Schimmel supported leaving in place Wisconsin's 1849 law of banning abortion without exceptions for rape or incest. Let me say that again. Without exception for rape or incest. When he was a Waukesha County District Attorney, Schimmel signed on to a 2012 legal paper that advocated for a plan to make abortion illegal in nearly all cases. The white paper from the anti-abortion group Wisconsin Right to Life argued that the U.S. Supreme Court could overturn Roe and that the 1849 law would then immediately make the procedure illegal in Wisconsin. Now, you say, Todd, that's a reporter. We think that's fake news. I don't. Mary Spicuzza is one of the best reporters in Wisconsin. But I get people might say, look, Todd, you don't like this guy Schimmel. You got an axe to grind, so you're making this up. It turns out no. So what better way to settle this than to hear Brad Schimmel's own words? Here now is a recording that, according to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, they obtained from last summer at a Calumet County Republican, I'm assuming Republican meeting, but some sort of a meeting in Calumet County last summer. This has been publicized already. Schimmel does not deny it. Here is Brad Schimmel last summer.
I, as DA in Waukesha County, I was one of many DAs who signed a white paper recommending that, a research paper that recommended, some people were talking about, why don't we take that old 1849 abortion law off the books because you can't enforce it anyway. And we just said, no, just leave it. You never know. If the Supreme Court does reverse Roe v. Wade, well, then we have the law on the books.
Why don't we just leave it on the books? Brad Schimmel asks. Why don't we just leave it on the books? It's funny how recordings catch up with politicians. When it's expeditious for them in front of Republican or conservative right to life groups, they love to tell the truth. When they're up for a general election against a law and order candidate like Susan Crawford, they tend to say a very different thing. Brad Schimmel wants to take us back to 1849. I think that all of us could agree that there should be exceptions for rape or incest, but not Brad Schimmel. Hey, look, if abortion isn't your issue, maybe protecting law enforcement is. We've got more cuts from Brad Schimmel on that. Don't go anywhere. It's the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
If you order now, we'll also throw in a set of steak knives. All American.
That was fantastic. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. And also, Len and Madison, that is an amazing text. The All-American Profit, Profit, is known by the $, sign, like the sign of the beast.
I like that. Nicely done, Len and Madison.
ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. That's ziprecruiter.com/free.
Attention. If you suffer from consistent pain in your joints caused by arthritis, overuse, or injury, you may be a candidate for a revolutionary therapy that could revitalize damaged tissue. This approach can provide long-lasting relief from pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, and other joints with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. To find out if you're a viable candidate, you may request a free consultation from QC Kinetics by calling 608-384-0897. Instead of masking the symptoms, it goes to the root of the problem to resolve it at its source. Already used by thousands of satisfied patients nationwide, this joint pain therapy is available right now to the public, but only for qualified candidates. Again, to find out if you're a viable candidate for this therapy, you may request a free consultation by calling QC Kinetics at 608.
Len and Madison, I also agree there. Brad Schimmel should be known by BS.
608-384-0897.
Still putting off that deep clean? Let HS Pristine Clean take it off your to-do list. With over 20 years of meticulous cleaning experience, they make your home sparkle without the hassle. Call 920-932-0000 today. Why wait?
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 21 now past the hour of 12 noon on Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Zommers on the board. Todd behind the mic. Glad to have you along talking about Broadway Brad Schimmel. Apparently, like myself, a fan of Broadway tunes, like Book of Mormon. Only we're not taking you back to biblical times, like Book of Mormon says. We're taking you back to 1849, according to Brad Schimmel. We just played you the cut in his own voice, his own words, which he does not deny, from last summer in Calumet County, where Brad Schimmel said of the 1849 Wisconsin abortion law that does not allow for rape or incest or endangerment of the mother's life. Pardon me, of rape or incest. That's the correct part. He says, Schimmel says, quote, "We just said no, just leave it. You never know. If the Supreme Court does reverse Roe v. Wade, then we'll have the law on the books," unquote.
I have a question about that.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't Supreme Court justices supposed to look at legal precedent and decide what's constitutional? And he's vying for that position.
I mean, look, I think the important point is that he's making it clear. And look, I give him credit for that, actually. He's making it clear before the election where he stands on the issue.
That is true.
He's trying to have it both ways. but last summer, he did tell the truth. He said exactly where he was. That he supports the 1849 abortion law in Wisconsin that does not allow for exceptions for rape or incest for women. I just think that's appalling. I think regardless of whether we in Wisconsin believe in choice or are pro-life, most reasonable people say, look, if a woman is raped or is forced raped by someone in her family, incest, there should be an exception for that. And Brad Schimmel wants to go back to 1849 and says no. But look, if that isn't your issue, I get it. Maybe your issue is law enforcement, public safety. Long listeners of this show know that I was on the city council once, was in charge of public safety, the committee, worked closely with our fire and police department. You will not find a bigger advocate for our law enforcement officers in Wisconsin than myself. Make it very clear. Anybody who attacks a law enforcement officer unprovoked and without cause should be arrested and tried, and if found guilty, put in jail. By the same token, like what happened in Minneapolis with Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, in that case, there were 4 law enforcement officials who broke the law. They were arrested, they were tried by their peers, they were found guilty, and those law enforcement officers are in jail, and that's where they should be. But that doesn't give carte blanche to people in the crowd who just want to attack cops. It's not right. And it's the same thing that happened on January 6th in Washington, D.C. when unprovoked, rioters, insurrectionists supporting Donald Trump, the bipartisan Congressional January 6th committee found that Donald Trump incited this riot, encouraged it, went to the Capitol and attacked our Capitol police officers and law enforcement unprovoked. And those people should also be arrested, which many of them were, tried by their peers, which many of them were, found guilty, and were in jail. And Donald Trump gave them a pass and pardoned them. And Brad Schimmel, now running for Supreme Court of Wisconsin, went on conservative talk radio here about a month ago or so. He doesn't want you to hear this, but here's what Brad Schimmel thinks about those January 6th insurrectionists.
The same thing for these January 6th defendants who were all prosecuted in the Washington, D.C. district, which is overwhelmingly liberal. This part of the manipulation is to go to districts like that. They would never take their prosecution in a district where you had a fair shot as a defendant.
Thinks they got a raw deal. January 6th insurrectionists who attacked cops. We've named some of those people. Some are from Wisconsin. One put on his own Facebook page and bragged about using bear spraying cops. And Donald Trump pardoned them, and Brad Schimmel is all for it because he thinks he got a raw deal. And Brad Schimmel has the gall to have law enforcement officers in uniform, by the way, in these TV ads calling himself a law and order candidate. That is false. If you support, as Brad Schimmel does, pardoning the January 6th convicted insurrectionists who attack cops, you are no friend of law enforcement, and it's disqualifying. The real law and order candidate is Susan Crawford, who also has actual endorsements from real sheriffs, current and former, who will go on the Supreme Court and defend law enforcement, who will not pardon January 6th insurrectionists who were found guilty by a jury of their peers. 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly to the phone lines and listening on WCFW in Chippewa Falls. And what say you?
Yes, I just had a comment on a couple of things, Todd. As far as the George Floyd and the Capitol riot, I'm sorry, but the Capitol riots were much worse as far as what the riots were fighting for in Minneapolis. Also, Brad Schimmel, he stands behind these cops, and one of the cops has a sexual misconduct that happened right here in Chippewa Falls. So people need to do a little research on that. And then also I had a great thing for the people in our country. How about these young men? They get vasectomies until they get married or they have sex. That way it can be on them instead of us women having to decide our life or the baby's life. That's all I got to say. Thanks, Todd.
Appreciate the call, and 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Mark, we got about 30 seconds. Do you want to go right now or come on back?
I'll come on back after the break.
All right, sounds good. Mark's going to chill out there in Prairie du Sac, watch the birds fly by, maybe on this beautiful afternoon, and then we'll come on back and talk to him. What do you think about this? Brad Schimmel trying to have it both ways on the 1849 Wisconsin abortion ban, and also supporting the pardoning of January 6th insurrectionists. 855-752-4842, an agricultural update from Midwest Farm Report, and then come on back for more of the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
This is the Midwest Farm Report. I'm Stephanie Hoff, along with you on a Thursday. The Wisconsin Biofuels, Corn Growers, and Soybean Associations hosted a lobby day at the state capitol this week. Roughly 35 farmers met with over a dozen lawmakers to advance policies that support renewable fuel, such as ethanol. Randy Hughes was among them. He grows corn, beans, and specialty crops in Rock County. One of the items he brought to the table was an infrastructure grant program for biofuel facilities. Randy tells us what that would entail.
Basically, the pumps that are out there that you fill your car up out of have to be set up properly or be made out of certain materials in order for them to handle ethanol. And the more ethanol, the different the pump has to be. So when it used to be just 10%, that was a different pump than no ethanol at all. And this just takes some money and helps to make sure that those pumps get built so that the consumer has a lot more options on what they might want to get for fuel.
Randy Hughes says they want the gas pumps to be able to handle ethanol blends up to E35.
Oh, what was LA Tom got to say? I'll change my social media handle to Todd's Town
The
Hall.
infrastructure is ready to go. Don't go anywhere. I'll have your midday markets after the break.
Well, hold on to your britches, everybody. It's time to go nuts at the Springfield Corners Testicle Festival. March 8th, you can enjoy deep-fried
All right, for those watching the stream, should Todd go to the Testicle Festival?
By the Lights Out Band. Join me,
Please
the
say
fabulous
yes.
Farm Babe, along with the rest of the Midwest
Make him do
Farm
it.
Report team at Springfield Corners.
He wants to anyway, but make him do it.
See if I got the balls to go.
Would you eat a Rocky Mountain oyster on air?
If the audience asked me to, I would make the sacrifice.
Have you had one before?
Not a Rocky Mountain one. Da 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 da.
You can take your best results even further.
Now this is nice. The Henry Violets Zoo welcomes 4 baby meerkats. Who doesn't like a good meerkat?
Fools. By the way, Dave in New Berlin says, Toddster, for the benefit of those who slept in, throw out your Casey Kasem impersonation for the good people of Wisconsin.
Where's my stuff?
December new crop corn is down 6 cents at $4.61 a bushel. Cash beans are up 3 cents at $10.27 and a half.
On this
November
date,
new crop beans are
February
up 3
27th,
3/4
1961, Pony
July new
Time
crop
by
wheat is
Chubby
down
Checker hit
17
number
1/4
1
cents
and held
at
on for 5
$5.76
weeks.
and a half.
In
The Class 3
1960,
milk contracts
Smokey
are trading
Robinson
up
and the
today.
Miracles
A March contract
made their
is up
first
15
TV
cents at
appearance
18.95
singing
a
on
hundredweight,
American
and the April
Bandstand.
contract up 16 cents at 18.61.
I'm not really
That's your
proud.
midday
I have a
market
better. I can
update
do
on a
better Casey
Thursday.
Kasem
For the Midwest
if I
Farm Report,
practice.
I'm Stephanie Hawk.
One of the great broadcasters of all time, in my opinion.
If I practice, I can do a specific Casey Kasem as Shaggy.
Oh, really? Yeah.
On Facebook.
Todd,
Nah, so that wasn't good. I haven't done it in a long time.
Todd does test. All right, so we have a vote for LA Tom that I do the Testicle Festival.
And that you should name the show after it.
They wouldn't let me
Todd's
do that.
Testicle Festival.
Here this afternoon and tomorrow, the same thing. I'm
That's the
meteorologist
online
Rachel
edition.
Rao. Right now, it's 41 degrees.
The secret show.
Yeah.
Rename Todd's Testicle Festival.
Yes, these are the things we talk about when we're not on broadcast network.
You've seen their beautiful work at Hilldale Shopping Center. From expert lawn care to seasonal flower beds, precise trimming and sustainable solutions. David J. Frank makes your vision a reality.
David James.
Right now is the best time to prune or remove trees. Request your free quote today at davidjfrank.com and get on their list for spring cleanups. David J. Frank, 65 years of excellence in every blade of grass.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
What celebrity would you like to hug? It's International Hug Day. I wouldn't
Like
say
Debbie
Josh
does Dallas,
Brolin
Todd does
is my
Testicle
favorite
Festival.
actor, but he's got like a
That's an
quiet
entirely
journalist
different
in
show.
him. Actor Glenn Morshower joins us now.
My self-esteem was
30
jolted when
seconds.
you
All right,
did
thank you. Here
not
we go.
mention me as your hugging preference.
I didn't want to rush it. I just want to see how. Let's just.
Pursuing truth wherever you may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 minutes past the hour of 12 noon, Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Zommers on the board. I said before the show, it feels like Friday Zommers. I don't know why.
I agree. For some reason, it just feels like we should be hitting the weekend.
It's been a long week already, as they say. But no. Tomorrow, our old friend Peter Rapine, who was feeling a little under the weather last week, and he's going to be back this week with an all-new edition of Week in Review.
Yeah,
Wild things and wacky things that actual human beings do.
If this really was Friday and we didn't get Peter Rapine, I would be very sad.
Right. So we'll get Rapine tomorrow at 1:30 tomorrow afternoon. Be with us then and much more. So it should be a fun show for a Friday tomorrow. Right now, talking about Broadway Brad Schimmel, who apparently, like a lot of us, enjoy a good musical number because he must be a fan of Book of Mormon, as we played in the first segment there, taking us back to 49. Not quite the same line from Book of Mormon. But Brad Schimmel wants to go back to 1849. We played the recording in his own words from a meeting last year in Calumet County in audio obtained by the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, of which Schimmel does not deny it, saying that he's fine with keeping the 1849 law on the books in Wisconsin that does not allow for rape exceptions for rape or incest for women to receive medical care in form of abortion. We'll sing a little different tune today, but that's what he was caught on mic saying last summer. Also, in his own words, Brad Schimmel on conservative radio for a month or so ago, saying that he thinks that the January 6th insurrectionists, those who attacked police officers, were found guilty by a jury of their peers and sentenced to prison and then released by Donald Trump, says those folks got a raw deal. Is just fine with Donald Trump pardoning those criminals, those insurrectionists. And as a guy who supports law enforcement, I just don't go along with that. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Mark in Prairie du Sac holding on. Mark, we appreciate you hanging on. Let's see.
No problem. Yeah. Well, Brad Schimmel doesn't think a Republican or a Republican supporter can get a fair trial in a Democratic district because, after all, he gave Scott Jensen a misdemeanor in place of 3 felonies when Scott Jensen was convicted of in the caucus scandal back in the day, which enabled Scott Jensen to go out and be a lobbyist, making 6 figures a year probably, and since then, and actually probably funneling contributions to Brad Schimmel's various campaigns. And for Brad Schimmel's position on rape and incest as far as abortion, let's remember Scott Walker opines. He says, well, rape is just something you get over. After the initial trauma, that just goes away. And then you're just faced with the joy of the pregnancy that you have. I mean, this must be the attitude of these freaks. And he needs to be nowhere near the Supreme Court. He shouldn't even be in a Waukesha County judge.
Yeah. Appreciate the call. Thank you, Mark. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Jack in Merrimack. Jack, always a pleasure. What say you?
Yeah, first of all, Schimmel saying that these guys didn't get a fair trial. A fair number of them actually admitted their guilt, including being part of an insurrection. And at least one guy from Wisconsin even bragged about bear spraying and pepper spraying police officers.
Yeah. The guy from Pulaski.
Yeah, that's even just as bad as that is Schimmel's opinion that a 175-year-old law regarding abortion. First of all, judge has already said that doesn't really include abortion. It means infanticide, and secondly, he thinks that a law that was on the books before women had the right to vote, probably 100% male legislature at the time, almost certainly, and he thinks that's just fine to be able to enforce back into law. Just as bad as that is the current makeup of part of the court as well. We've got 2 so-called justices on there that basically said, yeah, we are going to vote to overturn the votes of 200,000 Wisconsinites because we didn't like the results that came out in Dane and Milwaukee counties. And then we've got the third, the so-called Chief Justice, who voted with them to say, yeah, gerrymandering that is so egregious that you got to cross a separate district to go from a part of one district to another part of the same district. Oh, that's just fine by our laws. I mean,
No, I think,
they're not just right wing, they're extremists.
And you're talking about that the vote on was the 2020 election where Brian Hagedorn, one of the current justices, was the only conservative and really was the deciding vote that prevented the 2020 election results from being overturned in Wisconsin. And I think you're right that Schimmel is more likely to side with those who would have overturned the election. I just think, as our friend Matt Flynn is fond of saying, he's a bad guy. He's a bad dude. And, shouldn't belong there when you have a law and order candidate like Susan Crawford, who's going to follow the law, support law enforcement. I just think she's the better choice. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly up to WCFW listening area, beautiful Eau Claire, where we find Jean in Eau Claire on WCFW. We appreciate you, Jean. What say you?
Hi, great show as usual. I'm just very, very thankful for you guys in civic media who are really taking the bull by the horns and giving people the facts. I'm so thankful because we don't get them from our local media. Rural area, we're getting all kinds of garbage in the mail promoting this thief and guy
well,
and
$1 million being put in and counting by Elon Musk and his dark money buddies.
Yeah, I believe the number is approaching 2 million at this point.
There you go. So
I wish somebody would put an ad on the air. I would if I was wealthy as Elon Musk, putting out there what Schimmel's exact words have been, so people are aware. This is a beautiful thing. You put that out there. This is a very, very serious thing, and people who want to mouth off and say, "Oh, the liberals are upset." I've never been in a party ever, ever, ever. I used to have Republican and Democrats and independent signs in my yard when I lived in the city. And I'll tell you something, this is not normal. This is, we need Susan Crawford in that position to help protect Wisconsin, because if we don't, we're going to be up the creek without a paddle because there'll be nobody protecting Wisconsin. And what Trump's doing with the help of the Wisconsin representatives. So, folks, start paying attention to what your Republican representatives are doing to you as you continue to support them. Thank you, and keep up the great work, please.
Thanks, Gene.
Thank you.
Always
Bye-bye.
appreciate the call. Appreciate your listenership up there. You can listen to us on WCFW, The Tap, up there, beautiful Chippewa Valley, Eau Claire area, beautiful part of the state. Well, here's something. 43 minutes past the hour of 12 noon. Let's turn a page for a second, because I think like a lot of our callers, a lot of our listeners, people say, well, Todd, what can I do about it? Great question. Two things. Number one, as our friend Luke Mathers likes to say, be a voter. And if you're not sure if you're registered, maybe you've moved recently, you just want to check to make sure you're registered, because this general election for Supreme Court, for DPI, Department of Public Instruction Secretary, is coming up on April 1st. No joke. No joke. You can go to myvote.wi.gov. Just get out your smartphone, your laptop, go to Google, and just type in myvote.wi.gov. It'll take you there. You just put in your address, and it'll tell you whether you're registered or where your local polling place is. Get pre-registered. Of course, Wisconsin does allow registration same day, but just easier to get it done beforehand. And then you're all set to go and be a voter on April 1st. Do you have something, Zara? Sorry.
Yeah, and also tell your friends, tell your family. Yeah. If you have a second and you know how to use myvote.wi.gov, and maybe someone in your family doesn't, help them out. Show them it's actually really easy to use. I've done it before plenty of times and re-registered when moving, and it never takes very long.
And I've said this once, I'll say it again, I'll say it 1,000 times, regardless of who you're going to vote for. I want everyone who is eligible to legally vote to vote. Everyone should be a voter. Certainly I have preferences. We talk about things in this show, but even back when I used to be a Republican. I left the party in 2011. When I worked for my former bosses and talked to school groups or adult groups or whatever, I would always say, look, I have a preference here. But to preserve a democracy and the American dream, each of us, regardless of party affiliation, should be a voter. Go to myvote.wi.gov. One more call quickly, 855-752-4842. Ann in Chippewa Falls. Ann, what have you got for us, please?
Yes, I just have a message for all women that aren't having babies like me, but I do have a daughter that wants to have a baby, and I'm sure there's lots of women out there that have daughters and granddaughters. And I'm begging you to not let Brad Schimmel get this position, because I'm worried if my daughter has a pregnancy that goes bad, it could cost her her life. And I think we need to think outside the box, not just about ourselves, guys. We need to think about our neighbors, our friends, our children, our grandchildren. And that's why I'm fighting this so bad. It's not about me at all, because I'm not going to have a baby. But I do have a daughter that wants a baby. And if things go wrong, I don't want her life to be taken. So we really need to take this serious, guys, and think about other people besides yourself, because abortion isn't just about getting rid of a baby. It's about a tragedy that goes wrong, and we need the care. And this is women's health care, guys. Let's get out there and vote.
Well,
I just had to get that message out there.
Well said, Ann. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for your listenership. That's another great point. Dr. Lyerly has talked about it on this network. This is also about just health care for women. When you have ectopic pregnancies, where the egg starts forming outside the womb in the wrong way, and it can actually be life-threatening to the mother, that fetus will never fully form. The mother could die. And so that's a case where you're saving the life of the mother. And many of these extreme abortion issues, and folks like Brad Schimmel want to take us back to 1849.
Yeah, a lot of people I talk to who are pro-life say that, well, of course we want to, let people have exceptions for abortion when it comes to the life of the mother or things like that. The problem is, you might think that, but the people who are making the laws, it's not written that way.
Right.
And people like my mom had fertility issues, and she had to have what is technically a medical abortion for a late-term late-term extremely wanted pregnancy that had complications that would have threatened her life, and certainly the baby would have died anyway. So my mom is pro-life, but reasonably so. Like, she's like, I would rather not have abortion, but you can't just make these blanket laws, because then my mom could have died.
Yeah. It's about having access, and so that women do have a choice. And if they have a spouse, if they have a clergy, they can make that decision. It's about having access to a choice. So, well said. Here's other, besides being a voter, here's another thing that you can do. You can participate. There's something called the February 28th. That's tomorrow's hours, last day of the month. An economic blackout. It's an initiative by the People's Union USA, which describes itself as a grassroots movement dedicated to economic resistance, government accountability, and corporate reform. The group says it has no political affiliation, but is rather focused on uniting Americans against corporate greed. The movement was founded by John Schwarz, who was described the movement as raising awareness about the ways, quote, the system is rigged, unquote, against everyday Americans. He says, quote, for our entire lives, they have told us we have no choice, that we have to accept these insane prices, the corporate greed, the billionaire tax breaks, and all while we struggle to just get by, unquote, according to Schwarz. Going to come back, give you some details about this economic blackout. It starts in about 11 hours, 10 minutes at midnight tonight. Come on back. Your phone calls as well. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Real news and great conversation.
Economic blackout.
WMDX.
Economic blackout.
Attention. If you suffer from consistent pain in your joints caused by arthritis, overuse, or injury, you may be a candidate for a revolutionary therapy that could revitalize damaged tissue. This approach can provide long-lasting relief from pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, and other joints with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. To find out if you're a viable candidate, you may request a free consultation from QC Kinetics by calling 608-384-0897. Instead of masking the symptoms, it goes to the root of the problem to resolve it at its source. Already used by thousands of satisfied patients nationwide, this joint pain therapy is available right now to the public, but only for qualified candidates. Again, to find out if you're
I haven't
a viable
asked them,
candidate
but I
for
am
this
100%
therapy,
certain
you
that
may
both of our
request a
callers
free
want to talk about
consultation by
abortion.
calling QC
All right,
Kinetics
well,
at 608
I'm going to give details on this, and then we'll go to the phone lines.
384-0897.
Okay,
I don't want to not get this in.
I will let them know.
It's not that long. It's not
Wounded
that
Warrior
long.
Project has been there for me since that first day in the hospital. They got me out of the house. They got me connected with other veterans, and they helped me face my PTSD. They support me and my family at every turn. And now I'm helping other warriors realize that they're not alone.
Through our hands-on programs, supportive community, and ongoing advocacy, we help post 9/11 veterans realize what's possible. Learn more at
It's almost March
woundedwarriorproject.org/possible.
Madness, everybody. Cannot wait. Very excited this year.
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday morning. I haven't missed one. Outstanding, just like being in school.
It has been a week in the areas of law and government.
If we have time to take their calls, we should try to do Gary first because he has a doctor's appointment really soon. So if there's not time, that's fine.
I'll do this quickly. I'll go to him.
Time with me in discussion.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. 9 minutes before the hour of 1 o'clock on the Todd Allbaugh Show on Civic Media. Welcome back. Coming up at hour 2, what's worse? The ketchup edition. Not going to want to miss that. Also talking about Joann Fabrics closing down, and we have a new segment called Is It Fake or Is It Real? Right now, just talking about this, I'm going to call it a cause or an event. A lot of people say, what can I do? Obviously, vote on April 1st, regardless of who you're voting for. I want to emphasize that. Even if you don't agree with me, I want everybody to exercise their democratic right to go out and vote on April 1st. But you could also participate in what's being called an economic blackout. Starting at midnight tonight, it's being sponsored by the People's Union USA. Calls itself a grassroots movement against for economic resilience, government accountability, and corporate reform. So here's what they're encouraging people to do. Starting at midnight tonight, all day on February 28th, tomorrow, no spending for a full day. Just don't spend any money to try to send a message. And then on March 7th to the 14th, they're encouraging an Amazon blackout. That'd be very difficult for some people. March 21st to 28th, Nestle blackout. And there's a couple more after that. So again, I mean, is it going to put these people out of business? No, but I think it's just a matter of wanting to do something. And, if everybody participates, it could send a signal at least that people are upset.
Another note on those, they do say, if you have to, try to use local businesses in that time.
Right.
Like if you have an emergency need tomorrow, don't put yourself in danger.
Oh, right.
But
exactly. But use your head. 855-752-4842. Now Zommers is scheduling people around doctor's appointments. We go to our longtime listener, Gary in Sussex. We understand you have to get on quickly. Gary, look, we're going to put you at the head of the line to make sure you get to your doctor's appointment.
Yeah, I got to be there in a few minutes.
All right, what do you got for us?
Yeah, God gave us 5 children, okay? We have 2 of them that we adopted. 3 of them are natural. 2 of them died at birth and went to heaven. And when I held my daughters in my arm and they died in my arms, they were born at 5.5 months and they couldn't survive. They went in incubators and needle, and they brought them back and they said they're not going to make it. that's when I became extremely pro-life. Before, I used to always believe abortion wasn't good, but I always thought it was a woman's right to do this. But when I held these children in my hands and they died, perfect little fingers, little fingernails, eyes, nose, everything. It just, so when people say that they need to have an abortion, no, you really don't. I have 2 children, and I have 6 grandchildren from my 2 adopted children. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
I love
Gary,
my children, all of them, and my grandkids.
Gary, I always appreciate. I mean, you've been very honest and transparent and vulnerable on this show, which I appreciate tremendously. And certainly, my heart, my thought, my prayers go to you and your wife for those losses. I can't even begin to understand or imagine what you all went through. We've also talked on this show as well about ectopic pregnancies, where if something went wrong, ectopic, where, you know, in the case of I believe, I'm not misspeaking, where your wife, you know, would have died had that stayed in her. And so I think
absolutely.
And that's exactly right. And so those are the situations that I think hopefully that Wisconsinites could agree upon. But if we were to go back to this 1849 law and put that into effect, people like your wife in that same situation would die. Women would die. And so I think that's the danger.
I agree. Ectopic pregnancies are extremely dangerous. The baby's going to die, and my wife would die.
And so that's where we have to focus on. I think we have to allow that, which Schimmel just doesn't seem to want to do.
Well, I disagree with you, Todd. I think that on ectopic pregnancies, I think that he's.
We did not cut Gary off. Gary, your phone's cutting out. I promise everybody we did not do that. Wherever you are, Gary, it's cutting out on its own.
Okay, bye.
All right, thanks, Gary. Appreciate it. He's probably going to.
He's got to get.
He's going to an appointment.
He probably is pushing it a little bit too.
He can come back on. We did not cut Gary off, so I just want to make sure people know that. 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly out to Los Angeles, California. LA Tom, thanks for calling in. LA, what do you got?
Yeah, you know, I am pro-life. I am pro-life in terms of kids getting enough food nutrition. I am pro-life. I am against the death penalty. I am pro-life. I am against wars. I am pro-life. I am against, pretty much everything you can think of. This issue is not pro-life. This is what the right wing, and this is what, honestly, even my Catholic faith have made this into. This issue is pro a woman's right to choose versus pro the government's right to choose. And just because women have the right to choose doesn't mean they're going to choose to terminate a pregnancy. In fact, 85 to 90% of the women out there have children every single day because they and their partners or whoever have chosen to do so. So we need to stop with this whole pro-life, because we know the opposite of pro-life is pro-death, and that's not fair. It's either pro a woman's right to choose, the noun woman, or pro government's right to choose, because government's the one, and that would be we the people even. We don't have we should not have the ability to tell a woman what to do. It is a woman's right to choose. And someone that would be pro-birth, would be maybe trying to go to a woman and say, hey, maybe I can help you out financially or whatever it might be. That, to me, is more important.
Up against the clock, Tom. Thanks for calling. Gotta go. Come on back. What's worse in hour 2? Joanne Fabric, and is it fake or is it real?
One thing that I think it might be good for us to say, I know we don't want to launch into the topic again.
No, I'm not going back.
But next time it comes up, because obviously it will, it might be good for us to mention, if the pro-life people do propose a bill that has reasonable exceptions,
sure,
that we will give them credit for that and say, you know what?
Absolutely.
You are allowing the gray areas of health because every pregnancy is unique. You're allowing the gray areas to be treated.
Right.
And if you're allowing that, I'll take that over a full ban for sure.
Right. Agreed.
Learn more.
All right, everybody, stay tuned. Gonna step away for a minute. Come back with a sunny hour 2.
Todd's gonna go get some ketchup.
No ketchup. I'm gonna take my shirt off because once again it is blazing hot in here today.
I'm glad it's not in this room. I don't know what the deal is. Usually it is in both.
US or the Civic Media app. This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The House passed a budget blueprint this week aimed at delivering massive cuts and tax breaks for President Trump's agenda. Democrats say that would include making his 2017 tax cuts permanent. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says Republicans will not get support for cuts to critical programs.
Hands off Social Security, hands off Medicare, hands off Medicaid.
President Trump also indicated cuts will not impact those services. The president holding meetings today at the White House with Britain's prime minister. Talks include tariffs and ending the war in Ukraine. The Vatican says Pope Francis continues to improve as he battles pneumonia. Officials say today he received oxygen therapy and also met with aides. Police in New Mexico say they are investigating the deaths of award-winning actor Gene Hackman, his wife, and one of their dogs, found at their home near Santa Fe. Both authorities say were found in different rooms and appeared to be dead for some time. This is ABC News.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Wisconsin Republicans are once again trying to pass a law that would ban gender-affirming health care for trans kids. The law would apply to anyone under age 18. For trans folks, gender-affirming care can include puberty blockers, hormones, and surgery. Republicans say the proposal protects kids who are, quote, easily swayed by peer pressure and the opinions of others, end quote. But the LGBTQ+ caucus says the bill is, quote, deeply harmful, cruel, and dangerous, end quote. Advocates say the treatment saves lives, and medical experts at groups like the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry say blocking this access can increase suicide rates. Republicans in the legislature passed a similar bill in 2023. It was vetoed by Governor Tony Evers. Of course, this comes at a time when the new presidential administration is working to curb the rights of trans folks as well. According to the Williams Institute at UCLA, about 6,400 teens in Wisconsin identify as trans. That's under 2% of minors aged 13 to 17 statewide. Meanwhile, the budget battle begins. Governor Tony Evers' proposal focuses on what he's dubbed Year of the Kid, with increases in education funding, efforts to make water healthy and safe, and reducing the cost of medications and childcare. His plan includes tax cuts for many Wisconsinites and increased taxes for millionaires. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos says for Republicans, tax cuts come first.
So 95% of our tax reduction was vetoed by Governor Evers, which is the basic reason that we have this massive surplus right now in our state budget. So we're not going to use that surplus to grow the size of government. We're going to use it to reduce taxes. So my hope is we can find a plan that we agree on, send it to Governor Evers, cut taxes, and then we have money left over to be able to focus on where we're going to invest going forward.
Wisconsin currently has a surplus sitting in Madison of more than $4.5 billion. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. You're listening to 92.7 WMDX News.
It's the Bucks and the Nuggets. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Milwaukee Bucks at home tonight against the Denver Nuggets. The Bucks' Damian Lillard on why he thinks he's not getting more shots from the free throw line.
I feel like it's just been inconsistent. I think it's been a lack of understanding on how I'm being fouled. A lot of times guys will hook the defender's arm and then jump or whatever. But I just feel like I'm paying attention to how they're defending me in screens. They're fighting over. It's hard to stop on the dime, and I'm stopping on the dime, shooting the ball, knowing how they're pursuing me over ball screens. So it's a normal play.
Baseball manager Pat Murphy on Sirius XM radio asked what will it take to plate more runs if the Brewers don't spend more money in free agency.
If you don't have the budget to just go out and kind of just fill every hole, you're going to have to build from within or build from your trades or whatever. There's ways to disrupt the other team by having an offense that can beat you in many ways.
That's Brewers manager Pat Murphy.
Right into a helicopter.
Sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
Mostly cloudy and still mild today, with high temperatures tapping the low 40s and winds becoming breezy. They'll be gusting up to 30 miles per hour today and whipping up to 40 miles per hour tomorrow. A few spotty sprinkles are possible here this afternoon and tomorrow. The same thing. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlau. Currently, it's 39.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Matt Nair on air.
Oh, Randy Manor is here.
What
to speak up to your elected officials. If you are silent, then your elected official at the local, state, or federal level will think you completely agree with whatever it is you're doing.
Silence equals acceptance.
Correct.
Matt Nair on air.
Well, less
Weekdays
than
at
30
11
seconds.
on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app. Jane, Matt Nair.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer. It is 6 past the hour of 1 o'clock on this Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program here in downtown Madison. The sun is out. The guns, my guns are out a little bit. I took my flannel shirt off. It's warming up in here in the studios. Glad to have you along. yes, Summers. All right. It's not that I still have a T-shirt on.
He is wearing a shirt.
I'm not topless. Don't worry about that. Especially for those watching on the stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and the like. Big second hour here. We're going to play What's Worse in just a minute. A catch-up edition. Also a new segment we're calling Is It Fake or Is It Real? And discussing Joann Fabrics going out of business. A lot of Wisconsinites use that store for crafting. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first of all, we want to check in on Civic Media traffic right now. Going to check in at the weather traffic office right now. According to folks in the traffic office, heavy traffic right now for political ads. That's right, especially along the Green Bay to Milwaukee corridor. So expect some backups if you're listening to us in that area. Traffic report sponsored by Civic Media Traffic. People, here's the deal. So in radio, we call the people that run all that schedule the advertising, you call that traffic. That's the traffic department.
I'm not totally sure why, but yeah.
And I just poked my head into our lovely people who do that, and they just had looks on their faces like I said, what's going on? And they said it's the political ads are rolling in fast and furious. So heavy traffic today.
All backed up.
All backed up. All right, a little radio fun for you. It is 8 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock. Time once again to play What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. Then, of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get with that.
Time once again to play What's Worse. No prize money to give away. Nothing to be a prize in your home or your living room. But it is your chance to have your voice heard all across the state of Wisconsin. All 11 News Talk Sports stations on the Civic Media Radio Network, the largest privately owned radio network in Wisconsin. If you have a message to get out, no better place to do it than right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. All right, this one is timely indeed, as Mike Lucas likes to say, because like a lot, we were looking earlier, although we could turn the camera on now, Zommers, but people, as always, when I go to the street cam, kind of quiet. but we've seen all kinds of people. There it is, the beautiful street cam in downtown Madison at the intersection of Fairchild and State. Look at that. There's a person walking across. We've seen a lot of people here for, I believe, state wrestling tournament is in town this weekend, starting today. And then, of course, we got boys basketball coming up. We've got state hockey going on. So lots of people in town. And when they come here to Madison, they're going to enjoy the capital city, and they also are going to go out to eat. Lots of restaurants and that sort of thing are going to make money on eating. And there's some people going by right now, a couple of trucks as well. It's a beautiful day for a walk downtown Madison. So when they go out to eat, people oftentimes will use ketchup. And there's a lot of, you think the political judgment is bad. People looking at each other and saying, don't use ketchup on that. Don't use. And so what happens is they get judged. So here now, ripped out of today's headlines, what's worse, ketchup on steak or ketchup on eggs? Ketchup on steak or ketchup on eggs? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. You can also text us at the Civic Media app. Download it right now for free, either on your Apple or Android device. It won't cost you a thing. It's free, as I said. Just go to Civic Media or go to your app store, your search bar, type in Civic, C-I-V-I-C, Media. It'll pop up. Takes less than a minute to download. It's free. It's what Gail King at CBS calls a deal.
And you're going to want to have that app because I hear that pretty soon there's going to be another text to win contest.
There is. It's on the horizon. We haven't been given all the details yet, but get your texting to win fingers ready because your chance is coming up soon, and you can only win by texting. So download the Civic Media app, and you'll be all set to go. Speaking of Gail King, this is real. They announced this morning on CBS Mornings, Gail King is going to space. She's going to be in yeah, I'm serious. She's going into Blue Origin thing that William Shatner went into, Jeff Bezos' spacecraft. It's kind of phallic in nature, but she's going in that, and they're launching Gail King. It's going to be an all-female crew, you understand?
Katy Perry, Gail King,
Katy Perry's going with, yes. They're all going to space together. So that'll be a good time had by all. So anyway, but what's worse, ketchup on steak or ketchup on eggs? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. You can also text us on the Civic Media app as aforementioned. All right, here's some answers for us on the old app. Matt, listening in Middleton on WMDX, says, ketchup on steak is un-American. You should be deported for such a heinous act. It's much worse and unforgivable. Ketchup on steak. Very strong feelings today from Matt. All right, very good. What else do we have here? A listener listening on WCFW up in beautiful Eau Claire, Chippewa Falls says, I would never want to ruin a steak with ketchup. Chris, our very own Casper here at WMDX, says they're both weird. Steak is way worse. Maybe we'll just have a hamburger. All right, very good. Brian, listening on WAUK in Milwaukee, says ketchup on eggs is a thing? Oh, yeah, it is. He says barf with a barf from her emoji.
Tyler in Wisconsin Rapids says catsup, not ketchup, catsup on eggs at a company picnic. You know what? Having ketchup on eggs, like served, that just sounds gross.
That does sound gross. Tyler, we appreciate you listening to WFHR, our great station in Wisconsin Rapids. He brings up, I don't want to get too far into this, but I did think about it when the category came up today. Ketchup or catsup? I know a couple of people say catsup. I'm not sure if that's a colloquialism from a certain part of Wisconsin, but I've always pronounced it ketchup. But I don't know. Anyway, ketchup on eggs or ketchup on steak? What's worse? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. What's worse, ketchup on steak or ketchup on eggs? It is a thing. I mean, I suppose, there's some places where people just never, ever see ketchup on eggs, but
I hadn't seen it till I was in college, honestly.
Really? I don't know. I have seen it. Nobody in my family does it, but I've seen it at restaurants. And then when you travel, I've traveled down to Central America a lot, and they I shouldn't say rarely, but it's more common to do a version of what we would call scrambled eggs rather than a fried egg in El Salvador, at least. But they'll mix the eggs, and then they'll have like onion and little diced tomato and maybe a little cilantro, and then they throw in a little ketchup on it as well.
Right. I know the first time when I heard of somebody eating ketchup on eggs, I was like, what the hell are you doing? And then I thought, omelets with tomatoes
Yeah, it's
or
like
eggs and
salsa-esque.
salsa. That's really good.
Right. What's worse, ketchup on steak or ketchup on eggs? 855-752-4842. Let's go to Ollie, listening up there in the beautiful North Woods of Wisconsin. Ollie, ketchup on steak or ketchup on eggs? What's worse?
Well, I always felt like, definitely feel like ketchup on steak is sacrilegious. And why would you want to spend the money for a delicious steak and ruin it by putting ketchup? But now I have to think that why on earth would anybody want to spend all the money for eggs?
Right.
And ruin
I
it
was going
by
to say the same
putting
thing, yeah.
ketchup on?
Right? I mean, I went to the store last night. I got a dozen eggs there. It's $25. And crazy.
Yeah, really. It's ridiculous.
Thanks, Ollie. That's a great point. Thank you. 855-752-4842. Cindy, listening in Appleton. Cindy, ketchup on steak or ketchup on eggs? What's worse?
Well, you never put ketchup on a steak. Never. Maybe some steak sauce. Yes. And I don't use ketchup on eggs. I use hot sauce. I love lots of hot sauce on my eggs.
Do you really? Oh, yeah. So, like sriracha or Tabasco or what?
Yep, Tabasco and what's the Catalina hot sauce, or even sometimes the jalapeno, the green stuff.
Jalapeno.
That's it. Can't speak today.
I got it.
Anyway, yeah, but no ketchup on steaks. Never, ever, ever.
Thanks, Cindy. Appreciate it. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Mary in Tosa on the text line says ketchup on eggs, more costly these days. Another person pointing that out. Yeah, absolutely. Ben, listening on WRCE in beautiful Richland Center, the old Driftless, the hometown, says a dash or two of pepper sauce or Tabasco sauce on scrambled eggs is pretty common. Very good to the last caller's point as well. Let's go to the phone lines, 855-752-4842. Wisco Paul. Wisco, ketchup on steak or ketchup on eggs? What's worse?
It's not a problem with either one. This is a half empty, half full type of question. This is silly. They're both good.
All right, Paul.
Leave it alone.
Paul and Spooner, I should say. Okay, very good. Neither one. So you say leave them all natural, correct?
You're just today. You're just like Trump. You're trying to divide people.
Oh no!
Knock it off.
No, my God! All right, thank you, Paul. That may be the ultimate insult, trying to divide people.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. No, I don't write these on you. Once in a great while, they let me in the writer's room, but usually it's other people writing these. So, ketchup on steak or ketchup on eggs? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Let us know what's worse. Dahmers?
I think I'm going to have to go with what the majority of people have been saying and say that ketchup on steak is worse. Ketchup on steak and ketchup on eggs, neither is good in my opinion. I feel like they're both so close to working. If ketchup were steak sauce or if ketchup were salsa or hot sauce for eggs.
Yeah.
But as much as eggs are getting expensive, steak is still more expensive. And you're like, if I mess up my eggs, I can easily cook new eggs the same way.
True,
if I mess up a steak, that's going to take a while and cost a lot.
Kurt, listening on WMDX in Madison, says, Todd, do you take pleasure in abusing us with these questions? What cut of steak? Well, it doesn't say. But I'm going to go biblical. Biblical seems to be a theme today on the show. I'll be biblical. When I was a child, I ate as a child. But now that I'm a man, I eat as a man. When I was a kid, or maybe a cheaper cut of steak, I would put ketchup or like A1.
If it's cheaper, that's different.
Right. But now that I eat, generally when I eat a steak of better quality, never, ever, ever. So yeah. I think ketchup on steak is worse.
Yep.
There you go. All right, that's when we play What's Worse. Come on back. Talk about a big fabric store. Close them down in Wisconsin. Does it matter to you? Come on back. I didn't know what I was going to say. I don't know what to say about that. That's all I got to say about that.
Len in Madison says, I like to catch up on the news.
Yeah, there you go.
And yeah, Dave in New Berlin, we played that yesterday of Marjorie Taylor Greene saying,
yeah, we played that yesterday, Dave.
That federal
Thank
employees
you.
don't deserve their checks.
Yep, thank you.
Call 608-231-8000 and sign up today. Madison Computer Works. Computers that work for you.
This is Chad Spate for Chad's Design.
And in Chippewa Falls says, I love fried egg sandwiches with ketchup. Oh, there you go. I like that.
Do you love to improve people's lives by improving their homes? Chad's Design Build offers excellent compensation and benefits focused on outstanding customer service, professional design, construction management, and craftsmanship.
That's fine.
All in a nurturing, positive workplace. Whether you're thinking about remodeling your home or considering joining our team, go to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more.
I think I just got to get the horns always there.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Wisconsin's next major election is already here. The race for state Supreme Court is ramping up with just a few weeks to go before the April 1st general election. Much like the race 2 years ago, this will determine the balance of power on the court. If Susan
Good, Dave.
Crawford
Glad we
wins,
could give
the
you a
court
laugh.
remains in liberal control. If Brad Schimmel wins, the court flips back to a right-wing majority. But there are a number of differing dynamics from the race in 2023. That
We have a
race,
caller
won
about
by
Joanne
Dan
Fabrics
Protasevich,
already.
was
Oh,
the
fantastic.
culmination of a years-long effort. for
Couldn't stop
liberals to
laughing
win
when you
control
heard
of the
what,
court. Now
Dave?
they're playing defense.
We
to keep
said
that
something that made him
majority.
laugh. That's good.
This also begins a run of 6 years in a row with a race.
Or
for
maybe it
Wisconsin
was
Supreme Court
Marjorie
on
Taylor
the
Greene
spring
saying federal
election
employees
ballot.
don't deserve their
Because of
checks
which
being a federal
justices will
employee.
be up
That
in
might be
coming
what he was
years.
laughing at.
If Crawford wins this year, the court will
15 seconds.
Gracias. Pursuing truth wherever you may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media, 21 past the hour of 1 o'clock on Thursday, February 27th. Zommers on the board. Todd behind the mic on a beautiful, turning out to be an absolutely, boy, George, gorgeous day in downtown Madison. Glad to have you along. Going to talk about Joanne Fabric going out of business in a moment, but one more caller here on our What's Worse for today. We are asking the question, what's worse, ketchup on steak or ketchup on eggs? Angie, down in beautiful Greene County in Monroe. Angie, what's worse?
I actually love ketchup and eggs. I do. I love it. Right. I do. I don't know what it is. It's actually the only way I'll eat it.
Wow.
But yeah, and with hash browns, of course, mixed
Of course.
in. And yeah. But if I have it in a tortilla, then I don't eat ketchup.
Really?
Isn't that weird?
I don't know. It's weird.
If I
It's
eat
just
it, like in a tortilla. I do not need it with a tortilla.
Here's the hitherto unknown fact. Our very own Luke Mathers, who comes on Tuesday, he can't stand eggs. Any way, any shape, any form, doesn't like them. Anti-egg.
I love eggs.
He's anti-egg.
Have a good day, guys.
All right, thanks, Angie. I appreciate it. All right, so here's this is interesting to me. And maybe for some people, I don't know, maybe they don't care. But I think we're going to find out that more Wisconsinites care than you might think. Headline, Joanne, not the person, the company, plans to close all stores, conduct going out of business sales. Joanne Fabric has been in business more than 80 years.
Wow.
With more than 800 locations nationwide. Joanne Fabric, a major retailer of fabrics and crafts, announced all of its stores will be closing pending approval of a bankruptcy court. Quote, following a comprehensive sale process and auction, GA Group, together with the term loan agent, has been selected as the winning bidder to acquire substantially all of Joanne's assets, the retailer said in a statement. As a part of the agreement, the winning bidders plan to conduct a going out of business sale at all store locations. Joanne Fabric has been in business more than 80 years. As we said, in 2024, the retailer announced a plan to file for bankruptcy, seeking to keep all the stores open. However, it said it changed course and would seek store closures. They say, quote, we are committed to working constructively with the winning bidder to ensure orderly wind down of operations that minimizes the impact on all of our stakeholders. We deeply appreciate our dedicated team members, our customers, and communities across the nation for the unwavering support for more than 80 years. The statement from Joann Fabric. Now, I'll be interested to hear from callers because it's not just fabric. They sell, like if you're a person who really gets into, there's businesses, right? Candy makers and cake decorators and makers. They sell all that kind of stuff. They sell a lot of, I call them artificial flowers. I know that you don't use that term anymore. It's like fabric flowers or whatever, but they're realistic. They do all kinds of framing, crafting. I mean, it's a huge thing for people.
It's kind of like a cross between Hobby Lobby and Stein's Gardens and Gifts and Michael's and stores like that.
Yeah, it really is. So are you affected? Are you a Joann Fabric customer? And if so, if you're a crafter, if you're a sewer, if you're a baker, what do you plan to do next? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Matt calling in Middleton on WMDX. Matt, what do you think about this closure of Joann Fabrics?
Hey, Todd. I just wanted to say it's another loss of community spaces. My ex-girlfriend was a knitter and a stitcher, and we went there once, and I saw firsthand the way women of all sorts would kind of go there in groups, and they enjoyed the community aspect of it. They could ask for tips and tricks, get their stuff framed. It was a community thing, and it's just another example of the loss of those spaces where me having grown up in the 80s, I remember rec centers for young people. There was roller skating rinks, and they're just more for people to gather and do together. And it's why I really hate this digital world we're creating where it's very isolationist, and I'm just sad for that. That's all.
I couldn't agree with you more, Matt. Thank you for calling. You make such a great point. As someone who also grew up in the 80s, you mentioned roller rinks. I mean, places where you had community with actual humans and not on our phones. And you're right. There are so many organizations or circles or friend groups that get together and craft, that knit, all these things. And, you know, you can't always get everything at Walmart. 855-752-4842. Let's go to Cindy in Appleton. Cindy, what do you think of Joann Fabric shutting down?
Well, I'm going to agree with Matt. I think it's a real loss of community. And at one time, it wasn't really a box store. So now it's going to basically be replaced by a box store with the Walmarts and the Lowe's and, you know, some of the other stuff. And I think it's really sad because a lot of people make their living off of crafting.
Yes.
So now they're going to have to fart around trying to find stuff to put together so they can craft. Or you're going to start seeing more Amazon trucks in the neighborhood because people are going to have to order stuff online. And I just think it's a really sad thing. And I'm one of these who I want to touch stuff. I want to feel stuff. And I also know a lot of the quilters would go there because they would buy remnants of fabric, you know, so they could use that for their quilting. So that's going to be a real loss to the quilting people too, I think. So it just, to me, it's so sad. And I don't know. I think we're going to see a whole lot more of this, especially over the next 4 years. But to me, it's just a great loss.
Thanks, Cindy. Appreciate the call. No, I know a lot. I'm not a sewer or quilter, but I know people. My stepmom is a big quilter. Other people that I know are quilters, and you're right. I mean, some of these materials, some of these fabrics, it's hard to find places that get the right things, and especially all at one stop. And yes, I know there's Amazon out there, but again, now you're going to mail order thing. These jobs, and let's be, not all these jobs are high paying. But for some people, it's a second job, or they might have a spouse or a partner who has another job, and people do rely on these jobs. And as our caller's been saying, it's a sense of community as well. 855-752-4842. David in San Francisco, thanks for calling, David. About 45 seconds. What have you got?
Well, I was just going to say, with Trump trying to dominate the economy, homemade items will become basically a new, not just a new barter opportunity, but a necessity. If Elon is going to control the Treasury and that all of every tittle and jot of everything we do gets controlled by some robot world, making your own stuff is very much a necessity. And actually think about the hemp economy. We can be making cloth out of hemp.
Yeah. Great call, David. Thank you for listening out there in San Francisco. Great calls, great perspective. Yeah, it's going to take away the ability for people to be entrepreneurs easier. And I think it is a loss of community. Come on back. Going to take a little quiz. Is it fake or is it real on the other side?
Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7 WMDX. Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. The Dane County Regional Airport had one of its busiest years ever. More than 2.3 million people flew in or out of the Madison Airport in 2024. That's the second highest number ever, behind 2019. The new South Terminal they added a couple years ago increased the number of yearly flyers by 126,000. The top flight destinations from Madison last year were Denver, Phoenix, Orlando, and Washington, D.C. And an update on a story we brought you last week. Joann Fabrics is now closing all its stores after the company was sold at auction last weekend. Previously, company officials had announced they would close 500 of the 800 locations. Madison's East Side store was set to close, and the West Side one was supposed to stay open. But now all locations will shut their doors. There are more than 20 of them here in the Badger State. And every year, Madison plays host to all kinds of state competitions for high school sports. They've been held here for decades. Now they'll stay here at least another 8 years. Jimmy Kuska has more.
The WIAA and UW-Madison announced an 8-year contract extension to continue to host boys and girls golf, individual and team wrestling, softball, boys basketball, and 11-player football at its campus facilities. UW Director of Athletics Chris McIntosh said that UW was thrilled to continue to host state championship events as a showcase for its campus and for the impact to the Madison area.
This is really important for our community. The economic impact of hosting these championships and the hundreds of thousands of visitors that visit our community is significant, in excess of $22 million a year.
WIAA Executive Director Stephanie Hauser said that keeping the events in Madison is great for student athletes.
These student athletes, their coaches, and these communities come out in full force and celebrate the successes of these teams.
For Civic Media News, I'm Jimmy Kuska.
And I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, and this is 92.7 WMDX News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. If you're headed to the theater this weekend, here's what you have to look forward to. Last Breath is a mystery thriller starring Woody Harrelson, where he and his crew of deep-sea divers are forced to brave the dark, deep waters to save a fellow crew member. The film is based on a true story, but has no reviews in yet, so proceed with caution. My Dead Friend Zoe also opens in wide release. The dark comedy drama tells the story of an Afghanistan Army vet who has an odd relationship with her deceased best friend. The cast includes Sonequa Martin Green, Ed Harris, and Morgan Freeman, and with almost 40 reviews, it's pulling in 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. I have to say, I'm intrigued. No Address also opens this weekend and follows a group of people dealing with homelessness. There are no reviews yet, but the film stars Beverly D'Angelo, William Baldwin, and Lucas Zuman. Let's go to the movies. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwabo, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Mostly cloudy and still mild today, with high temperatures tapping the low 40s and winds becoming breezy. They'll be gusting up to 30 miles per hour today and whipping up to 40 miles per hour tomorrow. And spotty sprinkles are possible here this afternoon, and tomorrow the same thing. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlau. Currently, it's 42.
Do you know or work with kids who have special healthcare needs? Help them live their best lives. Contact Wisconsin Wayfinder Children's Resource Network.
Live your
Our
best
specialists
life,
will
everybody.
connect you with services in your area.
Speak your truth.
Wisconsin Wayfinder is free and confidential. Call 877-947-2929
No, this actually is a really good thing. We're not making fun of it.
or visit dhs.wi.gov/WISCWAY. Connect today.
Putting your shirt back
Sponsored
on.
by the
LA
Wisconsin
Tom was saying
Department
you
of
should take
Health.
it off as part of Todd Does Testicle Festival.
No, that's not going to happen, but thank you for the setup.
The John and Gordy Show.
We got a couple of people on the line here.
Oh,
Let's
yes.
go to Mark, who's been holding on here for quite a while. Good morning, Mark. What do you got for us this morning?
I got to put my FCC filter on right here. There's a President's Day sale on every day in the White House because Donald Trump has always been for sale.
Weekday morning, 6 till 8 on 92.
20 seconds.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 minutes now past the hour, 1 o'clock on this Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Zommers on the board. Glad to be along with you on what's just turned out to be. I cannot wait to get outside, Zommers. It's beautiful out there. The sun is out in downtown Madison. People are milling around. I need to get out and walk more. That's my goal. To get out and enjoy the sun. Touch the grass. That's the kid. Are the kids still saying that?
Touch grass. There is no the.
Oh,
but yes.
I'm sorry.
I think, I don't know. I'm not around kids too often. So
There is no the, says Aaron.
yeah, it's just touch grass.
Touch grass. Dude, you need to touch grass.
Yep, that's it.
All right, this is fantastic. All right, 1:35. I'm very excited about this. Time now to play a brand new segment called Is It Fake or Is It Real? Here we go.
Are you for real? Are you really for real? Is this really for real? I can't believe the way you make me feel. Are you for real? Are you really for real?
I love this music. Zommers, what did you dial up? This is fantastic.
Are you for real? I'm probably going to mispronounce the name of this artist real bad. Yumir Deodato.
God bless you.
Thank you.
It's from the 80s, right?
Yes, 84.
Are you for real? All right. So this is great. We'll see if this takes off or not. It's called Is It Fake or Is It Real? So we're going to play this game here. I'm going to read 7 statements. I did not write this. I have not looked at the answers. I've been very careful about that. So you pick which of the statements I made up and which were actually said by either Kashmir Patel, better known as Cash Patel, or Dan Bongino, the two guys who now head the Federal Bureau of Investigation, better known as the FBI. Have you heard about these guys?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Kashmir Patel, who is now the director of the FBI, and this guy, Dan Bongino, who, talk about a nut job. The only credibility, at one time, this guy, Dan Bongino, served as a Secret Service agent, I believe. And now he's been a podcaster on far right-wing radio. He is an election denier. And even now that he's been appointed like the deputy of the FBI, he's peddling personal items just like Trump is to make money while he's in office. Did we ever send you that cut of Bongino talking about power? Maybe we can pull that up at some point if you find that one. So anyway, so there are 7 things. You can keep track of it. If you want to call in, I won't reveal it right away. So you can call in 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. All right, now 7 things, statements. Are they fake or is it real? This is fantastic. Zommers says already, if you want to know a sense of Kashmir Patel or Dan Bongino, here he is. Here's Dan Bongino on his little podcast.
The thing that matters is what? Chat. What matters? Anyone? Power. Power. You can see what I'm mouthing. Power. That is all that matters. No, it doesn't, Dan. We have a system of checks and balances. That's a good one. That's really funny.
You can't see it because we didn't play the video. He's mouthing profanities, the F-bomb, as he's saying that stuff.
So just emphasizing that power is the only thing that matters to him.
Laughing about our court system. That's the guy who's number 2 now at the FBI. Woo, Nelly. All right, here we go. The game. Which of the 7 is fake which of the 7 statements I'm going to read to you is real. Here we go. Number 1, quote, we're blessed by God to have Donald Trump be our juggernaut of justice, to be our leader, to be our continued warrior in the arena. Is it fake or is it real, Zommers?
This is I'm my initial judgment, and are we saving the answers till the end?
Yeah, we're going to save it.
Okay.
Yeah.
My initial judgment, I think it's something they would say. I'm concerned that the words might be too big for their little brains, but I'm going to say real.
I'm going to say real as well. So Zommers is real, Todd is
juggernaut
real.
of justice. I think that's something they would say.
Yep. I think that's going to be Bongino. I'm going to say it's real. I'm going to say Bongino. All right. Number 2, quote, my recommendation is Donald Trump should ignore this court order. Who is going to arrest him? The marshals? You guys know who the U.S. Marshals work for? The Department of Justice. That is under the executive branch. Donald Trump is going to order his own arrests? This is ridiculous. Unquote.
I mean, that seems real. I don't know if it's a trick, but I'm going to go real.
I'm going to say real as well. I'm going to say that was Kash Patel. All right, played. Is it fake or is it real? All right, Cam said that first one is real as well. All right, number 3. The only thing that matters is power. Oh, here we go. That is all that matters. No, it doesn't. We have a system of checks and balances. That's a good one. That's really funny. Do we? Well, we know that's real because we just played it for you.
Yeah, we know that one's Bongino.
I didn't read ahead because I didn't want to know the answers. So, all right, real and real. We know that we both got that right because we just heard the quote right from Bongino. All right, number 4. The irony about this for the scumbag commie libs is that the cold civil war they're pushing for will end really badly for them. Libs are the biggest, and I can't say that word, kitties I've ever seen, and they use others to do their dirty work.
I'm going to say that's Bongino and it's real.
I'm also going to say it's real, and I'm going to say it's Bongino as well. I'm glad I did, because I didn't read these in real time.
Yeah.
I'm reading these for the first time. I'm glad I'm reading ahead a little bit.
Don't want to get anchormanned.
No, not exactly. All right. Is it fake or is it real? That's what we're playing right now. All right. If you want to call in, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Are these actual quotes by FBI Director Kashmir Patel or his deputy, Dan Bongino? Or is it fake? Number 5. My entire life now is about owning the libs. My entire life now is about owning the libs.
I could see this going either way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say real. I feel like Dan Bongino's a streamer, right? That's totally something he would say on stream.
I'm gonna say, because I've said Bongino so much, I'm also gonna say it's real, but I'm gonna say it's Patel. All right. Couple more left. Is it fake or is it real? Are these actual quotes by Kashmir Patel and Dan Bongino, the now director and deputy director of the FBI, or are they fake? Number 6, quote, you've got to harness the following that Q of QAnon
real
has garnered and just sort of tweak it a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying that's real.
I'm also saying it's real.
If they're talking about QAnon, that's got to be real.
I'm going to say it's Kashmir. Number 7, we're going to come after this is a good quote, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We are going to come after you, whether it's criminally or civilly.
That's got to be real. It's got to be Patel.
I'm going to say it's real, and it's Boingo or Bongino or whatever his name is. Isn't he the mascot for the Bucks? All right, so there we go. 7 quotes. I have read them all to you. Is it fake or is it real? I did not look at this before we started. I'm going down now. Okay, let's see how we did winnowing real and fake statements. All of the statements I have read to you are in fact real.
That is unfortunate.
Number 1, 6, and 7 were Kashmir Patel. So I was wrong on the person, And 6, I was right on 6. I said Patel. And then 7, I said
I was right on
Bongino.
that one,
You,
yeah.
you were right on that one. And then 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all things that Dan Bongino has actually said. These are President Donald Trump's choices now heading the FBI.
Wow.
Is it fake? All right, so this is a great segment. All right, is it fake or is it real? That's how we played. There we go. I like that segment. Is it fake or is it real? That was well done. That was well done. Is it fake or is it real?
We're gonna have to do that more. I think.
I like that. I like that segment a lot. Incredible, isn't it? I mean, if you had taken those quotes, I'm just telling you, as somebody who was involved in politics for a long time, if you had taken those quotes when, say, George W. Bush was president and said, these are quotes from Bush's nominees for director of the FBI, the Republicans would have run the nominee and Bush out on a rail.
It would have been career ending. And he would have been a farce. He would have been made fun of by everybody in the world.
Can you imagine if Barack Obama had nominated people to the FBI who said these things?
He would have been impeached, probably.
Republicans would have been apoplectic, as well they should. Democrats would have said, what did we do? But oh no, the Trumpster puts up Kashmir Patel and Dan Bongino and says stuff like this. I mean, directly against the Constitution of the United States.
Look, I get that people want populism. They want somebody who talks like them. They want people who tell it like it is. However, these people are not telling it like it is. They're saying this stuff and it's lying and going against the country. Like, you can have somebody who talks like a person and doesn't also want to take all your rights away and give all your money to Elon Musk.
Speaking of, nice segue. Elon Musk bought Twitter in 2022 with plans to expand it into an app that lets users send money to each other.
Of course.
And eventually offers users an array of financial transactions. Well, later this year, X, now formerly Twitter, will debut peer-to-peer payments on X with Visa as the first partner for the X Money account. According to X CEO Linda Yaccarino, the CFPB also regulates car loans, which includes the financing arm of Tesla. Isn't that interesting? Musk's most lucrative business. Musk, via his so-called Doge, or Doggy, has gutted Consumer Financial Bureau Protection Agency, the primary federal agency regulating companies doing online payments and auto loans. Musk gloated about it in posting on X. He said, quote, RIP CFPB, with a tombstone emoji. Rest in peace. The Trump-installed acting director of CFPB has instructed employees to, quote, stand down, unquote, from all work, including fighting financial abuse. Musk's involvement would violate criminal conflict of interest law. Isn't it funny? Well, it's not funny, but fascinating how when Musk guts these agencies, it always seems to come back to him and how he ends up financially gaining on this. And there was a great story, by the way, in 60 Minutes over the weekend. Scott Pelley, hitting it out of the park every week on 60 Minutes right now, did a profile on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, had a couple of people that just got fired. And as I've said in this program, other people have said, look, it's fine to audit agencies. A lot of agencies are already audited. You can trim waste if it's found, but there's a way to legally go about that. And throwing people on the street at the risk of laws being broken is not the way to do it. And in this case, the biggest risk is the fraud and abuse by Musk himself. and his company. Here's a little tip for you. I don't give out financial advice often. Don't sign up for X money. Just don't. Come on back. We'll wrap things up right here for a Thursday on the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7 WMDX.
No two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the
Merci
room with
beaucoup.
real people kind of learner. So he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay,
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at babbel.com. BABBEL.com.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try
Cam, I didn't know you had one, but if I had funds to invest, unfortunately, I really don't.
At Chats Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace.
Ollie in the
and your
Northwoods was
home
asking
to
if you could
support our
list through
community. We
the
judge people
economic
by the
blackout
content of their
stuff again.
character, not by the color of their skin, and we believe all humans deserve quality, publicly funded education, childcare, and health care. But what do you believe in? At Chats Design Build, we believe every person must have the opportunity to thrive. If you're thinking about remodeling your home, go to chatsdesignbuild.com to learn more about our commitments to you, your home, and our community.
Looking to strengthen the bond.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, where it is 9 before the hour of 2 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC or CBS Radio News, depending upon which of our great stations you're listening to, followed by a sports update with the great Mike Clemens, our sports reporter. Badgers have a big game. Wisconsin men's basketball team coming up on Sunday. Travel to East Lansing. I watched the game last night, Sommers. Big game in the Big Ten for the race for the championship. Top rated in the Big Ten right now, Michigan State, who the Badgers play at Michigan State in East Lansing on Sunday, where they were at Maryland last night. And it was a tied score, 55-55. Maryland had the ball. And look, I mean, I can't play Division I basketball, so who am I to judge? But the kid had, he put this shot up too quick. Usually like that, you want to put a last-second shot, and if you don't make it, you don't want to give time for the other team to make a last-second shot. You want to go to overtime. And the Maryland kid clearly thought he had a good shot, let it go, a three-pointer, missed it, off the rim, put it up with like 10 seconds left, bounce back, Michigan State player gets it, passes it to his teammate, who launches a mid-court shot at the buzzer. Nothing but net.
Ooh, yeah, you gotta love when when you snatch victory from the jaws of defeat.
Right. I mean, great game for Michigan State and Tom Izzo. 58-55, Michigan State survives against Maryland. The Badgers will be at East Lansing for a huge, huge game in the Big Ten coming up on Sunday. You can hear it right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. I believe game time is 12:30. Pregame before that on select stations. Let's hope one of your stations has been selected. You could also listen to it for free on the Civic Media app. The great Matt LePay and Brian Butch bringing that Badger basketball game this weekend. As we said, lots of folks in town here in Madison for state wrestling. All kinds of great folks. So good luck on all those young men and ladies now who are wrestling in the state wrestling tournament here at the Cole Center in Madison, Wisconsin. Ollie called in from the North Woods. One more time, some more information on what we talked about earlier in the show. Happy to do it for you, Ollie. Starting at midnight tonight, something called an economic blackout being sponsored by the People's Union USA, which describes itself as a grassroots movement dedicated to economic resilience, government accountability, and corporate reform. They're encouraging all of us, starting at midnight tonight, not to make any purchases. Don't spend anything all day tomorrow, February 28th. And as Zomer said earlier, don't put yourself at risk. If you really need something, try to shop locally. Support a local business. That's always good, right? So there you go. Great show today, by the way. Enjoyed all the participation. Enjoyed people calling in. We've talked a little bit about this in the last couple of days. Again, the Associated Press is still being banned by Donald Trump's White House from being in the press pool. And now yesterday, the White House said they will decide who can cover the president, not the White House Correspondents Association. One word comes to mind: capitulation. 50-cent word for what's happening right now with the American mainstream or legacy media sources. They are surrendering their freedom of the press and their right of free speech to the threats from the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Threats of lawsuits, threats of denial of access, threats of using the power of the federal government against individual media owners and their businesses. It's looking like democracy's survival is going to depend on independent and even foreign media telling us the truth. We just need to celebrate media sources that have not capitulated to the pressures and the threats, at least not yet. One example is Wired, a tech-focused news outlet that last year began focusing on coverage of Elon Musk. As a result, Wired has identified and traced the backgrounds of Elon Musk's Doge staffers. That's how we knew and now know about 25-year-old Marco Alez burrowing himself into the Treasury Department payment system that got all of our financial info, including Social Security numbers. And how about that 19-year-old, remember him? Edward Cortines, nicknamed Big Balls, quote unquote. Wired reported on Musk's team firing, then scrambling to rehire critical federal workers, like, the people in charge of nuclear weapons. And Musk's claim of saving $8 billion with a B on a project that was actually $8 million with an M. So, Wired, keep up the good work. We need you, and democracy, and America needs you. Proud to work for Civic Media, also an independent company that susses out the truth. Let's go quickly to Dick in Madison, WMDX. Dick, you got a Badger prediction. I love it to end the show. What do you got for us, Dick?
They're going to win in the same manner in East Lansing. It's going to be great Sunday. Be worth watching.
I can't now keep me honest. I believe the Badgers have won at East Lansing the last 3 times they've been there.
Yeah, and they're starting to figure out how to beat Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I really like about Guard, obviously, is a lot of things, but he handled that loss that we had that was a meltdown, admittedly.
Right, to Oregon.
But he said, hey, look, when we beat Purdue, we didn't have a parade and pull out all the stops, and he says we're not going to have a funeral over that loss.
Yep. And that comes directly from the philosophy of one William Ryan, better known as Bo Ryan, his mentor and the head coach of Platteville, Milwaukee, and Wisconsin-Madison for so very many years, and Gardo has kept that up. They have a big sign in the basketball office. It says next, because that mentality. Don't get too high, don't get too low. It's always about next. Next for them is Michigan State on Sunday. Next for us is tomorrow. Peter Rapine from E-Bomb's World will be here with a week in review. Zommers might even do a board game of the week. And we'll have fun. Come on back. It'll be great. See you tomorrow. Whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. Maggie Dawn is next. There you go.
Adios, everybody.
Bye-bye.